So, in between this amazing scene
Why so serious?
and this amazing scene,
And why do you want to kill me? I don't want to kill you.
he's doing this? I've been thinking about this for a while, and it's time to review Joker.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
So I saw Joker about a month ago, and I have to say I'm not a huge fan of this film. I know a lot of people have been singing its praise for a long time now, and I'm just going to go over some of my feelings on the film and why I've come to this conclusion. Right off the bat, we see Arthur Fleck get beaten up by a bunch of street kids over a stupid sign. It took me right out of the film. I mean, this is the guy who's supposed to become this future criminal genius that can go head-to-head with Batman? Nah. Joker is a pretty well-made film that it just didn't really need to be made. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Solo or Star Wars story. Like, I didn't need to know Han Solo's origin story, and if the story had been different, I would have found an origin story on the Joker pretty fascinating, but this movie just didn't work for me. So, I didn't see Joker in the theater. It just didn't look like a film that you needed to see on the big screen. And personally, I feel that assumption proved to be correct. Joker's kind of a slow-moving drama. There's not a lot of high-intensity action or big explosions, or it's not that kind of film. Which I suppose if you're a fan of the DC universe, like you're kind of expecting that. So I know they were trying to do something different, but it just kind of moved along at a snail's pace for me. It was kind of like watching bread toast. It's like, hey, toast is fine. I really enjoy toast. But it's not that interesting to watch. Now, I know. But Peep Street, it has great cinematography. It has a haunting cinematic score. Well, it probably does, but I'm just a normie. I only see a couple films a year. I'd only really notice cinematography if it was really, really bad. And if I walked into a room where the Joker soundtrack was playing, like I wouldn't have any idea what it was. And I just didn't find Arthur Fleck very engaging as a character. So sure, Joaquin Phoenix did a good job, but I mean, he's good in pretty much everything he's in. I didn't hate his character, but I didn't root for him either. I mean, not that I guess you would really root for a villain or someone about to become a villain, but he just didn't really elicit any emotion from me either way. You know what's a much better film about a person just kind of losing their grasp on reality and getting swallowed up by the ills of society? That would be Falling Down with Michael Douglas. It's much easier to see why he becomes so disillusioned with what society has become. And then the people that he neutralizes, so to speak, in the film, we understand why. And throughout that film, I found myself just rooting for his character. I wanted him to win. And I just found the resolution much more enjoyable and understandable. So I think my biggest disappointment was that I just kept waiting for that moment of brilliance from Arthur Fleck to make me believe that he could really be Batman's arch nemesis. If you've ever seen the movie Shine with Jeffrey Rush, he plays a piano prodigy named David Helfgott who suffers a complete nervous breakdown as a teenager. And midway through that film, as a now middle-aged man, he shows up at a local pub and everyone there thinks he's just some crazy person, muttering to himself as he makes his way over to the piano. But then he absolutely crushes Flight of the Bumblebee, and it's just magic. It's just a magical moment in that film.
Oh, suck it to us, Liberace.
And that's the kind of scene that Joker never has. And how old is the Joker supposed to be? So is he like 40 years older than Batman? Because Bruce Wayne's in the movie, and he's like 8 years old. So are we supposed to believe that by the time Batman comes of age, the Joker is like in his 70s? But he's still his arch nemesis? That's like Joe Biden being Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's arch nemesis. I didn't think Joker had any memorable lines of dialogue in the film, save for the one at the end. That's the only one that I ever really hear people quote. But nothing on the level of, "You want to know how I got these scars?" So what was Joker's most memorable line? It's the one where he says,
How about another joke, Murray?
No, I think we've had enough of your jokes.
What do you get
I don't think so.
when you cross
I think
a
we're
mentally
done with
ill
your
loner
jokes. That's
with a
it.
society that abandons him and treats him like trash?
Call the police,
I'll
Gene.
tell you what you get.
Toast.
yeah, that scene doesn't happen. It literally makes no sense. I don't believe that any casting director on a late night TV show would see a viral video of a clearly deranged individual and invite them on the show. I also don't believe that he would have been allowed in the building with a loaded weapon. Where was the security? There's no security? Metal detectors don't exist in Gotham? And finally, I don't think there's any way that after he pulls out his weapon, that the host, Murray, was that his name? Robert De Niro's character. He just sits there and antagonizes him until Arthur Fleck shoots him. And all the while, the studio continues to air the interview with no time delay, which is just ridiculous. So that whole setup just should never have happened. And was the director Todd Phillips making some kind of statement about upper class college age conservatives harassing people on subways? That scene was weird. The people that he should really be implicating in that scene is the left, the political left, not conservatives. So that was just dumb. But hey, what do I know? The movie made over $1 billion at the box office. So, you can't argue with that. You know what I think? I think the general movie-going public is just so tired of Hollywood forcing remakes, reboots, gender swaps, and identity politics into their films. And all the while, attacking anyone who does speak out against all of those things. So, when a movie comes along that's trying to tell an original story without the preaching, normal people will support it. So it seems this film came along at just the right time to capitalize on that. And at least Joker was smart enough to wait until after it made all its money to start preaching.
But I think the greatest gift that it's given me, and many of us in this room, is the opportunity to use our voice for the voiceless. I've been thinking a lot about some of the distressing issues that we are facing collectively. And I think at times we feel, or we're made to feel, that we champion different causes. But for me, I see commonality. I think whether we're talking about gender inequality or racism or queer rights or indigenous rights or animal rights, we're talking about the fight against injustice. We're talking about the fight against the belief that one nation, one people, one race, one gender, or one species has the right to dominate, control, and use and exploit another with impunity.